Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to RetCon. Thank you very much for joining us for our first talk this morning. Joining us first today, we have Stephen Jones, who many of you will know either from his heyday back in the original age of the Amiga, with products such as the Siamese system, the original Checkmate 1500 conversion kit, and many other great innovations for the system. Today, he's responsible for things like the A1500 Plus cases that have allowed us to recase our machines for the modern era. And today he's going to be talking to us a bit more about his latest project, a range of retro monitors. So, Stephen Jones, over to you.
Which mic? I didn't touch it.
Yeah, not that.
Is it this one? Is it this one? Shall I stay seated, I guess, because otherwise I'll disappear over the top. Well, thanks for coming. I did say to him, I bet there'll only be about 2 people there. And before you lot come in, Sean's wife was in the background. Well, there's some, but there's that camera. So a lot of it. Now, any of you get offended by mildly bad language? I might ask you to close your ears just for a second. I'm going to be talking about my monitors. I'm going to give you, once I've done the monitors, answer some questions. If you've got any questions, I'll get you very thinking about some questions. You can ask me anything you like, all good questions or whatever. But first of all, how many of you have seen the Commodore 64X case? How many of you know what happened when the Kickstarter got taken down? Okay, I can see that's good. So more customers.
I saw your video on it, but
yeah. Right, so this is really aimed at the camera.
Yeah.
So, as some of you know, Sean for a number of years has been developing this really nice little Commodore 64. It's an extension from Commodore USA, I think, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah. So, taking it further on and putting a nice PC in it, where you could put other bits and pieces in it. But he had the good fortune of getting in touch with the original, or not the original, obviously, for the owners of the Commodore trademark and the branding, and had a chance of actually using it. So he's been working on this Kickstarter for ages. Parent, I'm concerned about, I'm going to say one rude word, okay? But these bunch of wankers, right, who set a brand up, wasn't even Commodore, I believe it was Commodore Engineering? Yes. Set this up in June this year, right, and then think it's beholden to them to be able to get in touch with Kickstarter and to say that he's infringing on their trademark. Right? Now these, do you know what, when I'm getting older I get a bit emotional these days. I put it there, I'm not going to repeat it because he's here and I don't want to blow sunshine. But he's such a nice man. And so he's put his heart and soul into this thing, and these stupid people have pulled his Kickstarter down. Now the great thing is he quite rightly said, actually when it went back online, he's absolutely validating his right to use the Commodore name. Now, my opinion on the case is, if you like it, buy it. If you don't, okay, that's fine. It serves a really nice purpose. It gives people it gives them the memory of the Commodore 64. If you want to set it up as a 64, you could put a Mister in it or a Pi in it, and literally turn it into an emulator. It will, in the case of the Mister, you can make it a proper FPGA-based 64, which is fantastic. So for people who like that, I think it's absolutely fantastic. So yes, those idiots. I'm an Amiga person, some of you may well know, and we've had our own problems, but ours is slightly different because it's something that this is an actual thing that's been going on for decades. And there is grounds here, but for what happened to Sean was just a joke. So I'm hoping everyone out there is going to jump in and buy these cases. All right, so come on. I know he's very shy, this guy. Say a couple of words.
Okay, so this is the first time I've ever done a talk like this. But yeah, so we started the campaign on Tuesday, and within 4 hours we raised nearly £60,000. And then the Italian company, who haven't got the trademark, they've got a different trademark, but it's not Commodore, and they don't own. Even though they claim to own the trademark Commodore, they don't own anything to do with it. They just sent one email to Kickstarter, and that was enough for Kickstarter to take us down. So I was you know, I just couldn't believe what they did to us. And the thing was, I can understand it from Kickstarter's point of view that, you know, that they have to do something, they have to act. But they didn't give us, as in my company, My Retro Computer, any communication, no way to contact them by phone or anything like that. So we've got a legal, legitimate trademark license with the people that really do own the Commodore brand. And so from our point of view, we're legal to use the Commodore brand in this Kickstarter campaign. Because of this Italian company, they took it down, and you know, I was distraught. I tried everything I could do. I mean, the Commodore Corporation was bending over backwards, supplying information to prove that they owned the trademark, but Kickstarter wasn't doing anything, and it wasn't really until I reached out to the community
And David.
Yeah, and
Yes.
David Pleasant, that actually something was done, because I don't think Kickstarter would have listened. It would have carried on. It would have been shut for ages. And as soon as David got involved and Stephen got involved, within a couple of hours, the Commodore, this company in Italy, emailed me and apologised. And and then a day later, Kickstarter put the campaign back up. But the other funny thing about that is, when they put the campaign back up, they never told me. I didn't have no emails, nothing, so I didn't even know it was back up. And then I've got some messages saying, well done, from people that obviously know all about it. Well done on having the campaign back up. And I thought, is it? Oh, right. I went on my emails, nothing from Kickstarter at all. Not one email to say that they've actually reinstated the campaign. So I then had to email the people that's handling our campaign in America. They're called the Mad Hatter Agency. They've been fantastic, because it's really affecting them as well, because they earn a commission out of this campaign. And basically, our Kickstarter campaigns work is it's sort of like, it goes up like that, and the faster it goes up, the better. And for us, it went up, and then it's flatlined for the last 2-3 days, because they closed it down, so it's really bad. So they've been helping out, and I don't want to take any more time up, because this is this gentleman's talk, but if it wasn't for the community, I'd have given up, to be fair, because I just didn't know what to do. And speaking to these guys and David and that, for them to do, just a small thing that they did. I mean, it's a huge thing, but for me, it made Kickstarter put the campaign back up, and it's brilliant. But I'll hand the mic back over.
He's bigging me up way too much. This was actually David. Because David was even ruder than I was.
He was. I was worried about people.
Sorry. I was worried about people getting in trouble saying anything, because what it's like legally, But David didn't hold anything back at all.
Big heads.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. But, okay, so everyone out there, hopefully you guys are going to have a look at it. If you like the C64, go and have a look at the campaign. If you've got, don't panic. He's got the right. It's all tied up legally. It's fine. You can back the campaign nice and safely. And don't forget to send me the check. Cheers, Sean. Thank you. So on that really is. It was actually David Pleasant's. He's very kind, saying nice things. I did put a couple of messages out, but because of David Pleasant's history with running Commodore, of course, they just obviously, had an accident in their pants or something. I don't know. Right. So what I'll do is I'm going to talk about the monitors briefly. And you like this? Be putting your hands up for questions. Yeah. Okay. Right. Because then I'll keep it shorter, because I like answering questions. So I've got no pictures up on the screen. Can I use this?
Yeah, you're online.
Oh, okay, right. Let me just see if I can load up my page. Oh God, how do you use Windows? Where?
You check that Firefox.
Firefox. Okay, well, I'm just going to load my site up and then. Oh, you really are DuckDuckGo. I'll put this on the screen so people can see it.
Steve, could you put the Kickstarter up as well, just for a
No. Sort of. Right, and then if you can see it. Has anyone actually seen the monitors? You have, okay, right, yeah. So, okay, here we go. So here's my site. Let me put the picture up so you can see the picture. There we go. Right. So, I'm not blocking it now. Is this coming out as a separate bit? Is this the screen going to
See it inside on camera. So
Fine, okay. Right, so what was the idea of the monitor? Basically, the idea of the monitor was I wanted to create. We all know that you can't buy CRTs anymore, and so they're not happening anymore. This is not. I'll say this. I have to keep repeating this over and over again. This is not a CRT replacement. It can't replace CRTs. Now I have mixed feelings with CRTs. They're fantastic for gaming, but one of the reasons I wear glasses is because I used my CRT back in the day, using desktop publishing and stuff like that in interlace, high-res mode, and so I have a different mixed feeling. But when you're playing games and that kind of thing, you can't beat a CRT. There's no way. You also got latency and stuff like that. So, but what I wanted to do was try and create a modern monitor, obviously with a good IPS panel. The panel is really important that I give it a good quality. So, and feel free afterwards to come down and see the panels downstairs and make your own mind up what you think about them. But the idea was to have a 17-inch and a 19-inch panel. You can see the reason for that is purely aesthetic. So the one on the right has obviously got the 17-inch, but it gives you, it's got room for a nice big bezel. So everything else is standardised. It's just that front bezel gets replaced with depending on what size you have. And also at the bottom, on the left-hand side of the bottom, you can see some USB ports. That's actually a user panel which you can 3D print your own panel to go on there and plug in whatever you want. You might want an OLED display, etc. You might want to put a headphone jack on there, those sort of things. But you can make your own utility panel at the front of the monitor. On the right side, they're just the general buttons. They'll come with a remote control, so you'll never use the buttons. But as you see, this is a prototype, and if you see the button looks really nice, but if you go downstairs, it don't do nothing yet. It's just to show you. The idea was that it matches the look of my existing cases, the colours. Comes in oyster white, which is a RAW 1013, and it'll also come in black. Because everyone sees, I've got an LCD TV, and I want to put one of these on top of it. But that's the kind of the design of it, and you can see on the side we've got massive, great big 3-inch speakers. Now I'm experimenting at the moment, and because you'll notice they're round speakers, the grills will be different on the final one. Again I'm prototyping, but we seem to quite like these ones. They're good quality German ones, and they're really bassy and well, reasonably bassy and quite loud. So much so that when I have them at home, we can't go above 6, up to 100. So. Right, so, but that's not the key part about this system. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture on here. But if you look around the back of it is where the secret sauce is, because otherwise this is just a panel, just a normal IPS panel with a fancy box outside, which you either like or you don't. But on the back, it has an awful lot of input potential. So we have the usual HDMI, we have VGA, but we also have 2 composite inputs which are stabilised. So anything goes into them gets flicker fixed, however you want to put it, but they get stabilised. There's also an interlace only component input. Now, on top of that, we have a breakout board which extends that a bit further. Oh, there's also a composite out, so if you want to play games coming in composite and then streaming out for a device, you can do that. But the real secret sauce is the board that sits above it. And the board that sits above it, which if you do want to see this, for people on camera, I've got lots of videos about this, which you can see the internals. But if you guys here want to come out, I'll open it up and you can see inside. But we have, how many have heard of the GBS 8200? No. Yeah, okay, both of you. So basically the GBS 8200 it's really been used in arcades, and the idea was that you could take these old machines, arcade machines, and when the CRTs blew up, you could replace them with using this board to interface with the electronic signals from the arcade machine to use a normal flat panel. So they sell them cheap, and you can go on so you can see they're quite cheap, but they're quite good at what they do, but they're not perfect. However, what people have been using for Amigas with reasonable results for quite some time on other computers. But the real change happened when, because I used, now I'm going to forget the name of it. What's the other scaler? I can't remember that. There's another much really expensive one. This is really expensive. OSSC, thank you. Yeah, OSSC scaler, and I've got one of those RGB SCART, and that's a fantastic product. But it only does RGB input. But the GPS has, for one thing, the price. I mean, literally, it's about £15, just this little board. But there's another product that was developed. It was an open source product, and it was called GPS Control. It was called GPS Control, and it's a new firmware that connects to the GPS 8200, and it does two things, three things actually. The main thing it does, latency. It fixes the problem with the latency on the GPS. It wasn't particularly brilliant, but it cuts it. I'm not saying it cuts it down to zero, but it cuts it really low. So anything you put in there, it reduces that latency for the board. The second thing it did was it somehow improves, I don't know how it does actually, but it just seems to improve the quality of the signal. The third thing it does, it gives you a web server on this board, so you can log into it and make all your changes. Now, you can either do it with a tablet, like I brought my iPad with me so I can log into it, but it means you can make so many changes. You can put on, if you want, your scan lines, all these kind of things, and it has this thing, adaptive refresh for the way it does the scan doubling. It's got a whole load of technologies put into this tiny little chip. So what I've done is, the first version that you'll see downstairs, I got in touch with a guy called Byron. Can you give me 5 minutes notice before? So yeah, I don't know. I had a gentleman called Byron who helped me with the project, because he had this really nice little adapter, and I asked him to turn the ports around so I could put it in the back of this. So if you come and see this, you'll see the V1, shall we say, set up. And it's got this little adapter board with a SCART plug, and it's got the GPS control and the connection. So it's all one plug-in unit, and that gives you a really high quality SCART and a component on there, but that also does non-interlace. So you can do 240p and that kind of thing in there and play games. So you can really, really go to town on that. Now, what happened then was I was about to launch the Kickstarter, to be fair, and I took it to Neil, who's been really supportive. I suppose you know RMC? Or heard? Okay, so it's a fantastic channel. It used to be called Retro Man Cave, but he changed it to RMC for obvious reasons. And he's been really amazingly supportive. So I took the monitors to him, but he basically said he wasn't overly happy with it. I'm telling you this for honesty. So he wasn't. He thought the display was a little bit muddy, and I think the bottom line he didn't actually like, because it wasn't retro enough for him, for one thing. But he was really good. Now he kept this quiet. He hasn't told anyone. I've been telling everyone, because I think what he did was fantastic. He said he came back with all the response, and so with his response, I thought, oh, how are we going to redo this? Now it just so happened that I wanted to get my monitors to support CGA and EGA, and that was a big part of the project. And I looked into a number of ways of doing this, which are quite expensive. But this guy called Appy, we'll call him Appy because he likes to be called Appy. It's not his full name. He doesn't like his full name being used. But he's ex-Navy, and he used to design the control systems for torpedoes. But he's really into electronics and VGA and video signal processing. And he's got this Commodore 6. Oh, he's a massive C128 fan. Has anyone got C128? Yeah, okay. So he's a 128 fan. And he wanted me to, because he knew that I was going to buy a 128 because I wanted to test the outputs on it. And the great thing about this project is I've been able to get away with so much with my wife. Oh, babe, I need to buy this computer because I need to test the outputs. Do you? Okay. And then there was I bought an Amstrad. I got a little PPC that, I bought a Toshiba 3200 laptop, and I've got all these so I can test it. She's wonderful. But anyway, so I went, he said, you can buy my C128D. And why do you want to sell it? Anyway, so I went over to see him, but he then wanted to show me what he'd done. And what he'd done was amazing. The board that he created for the C128 supports the normal mode, obviously, but it does the 8 economy modes. So it can handle that, which is basically EGA. That meant that when I brought it back, and then my CGA worked flawlessly, and I got an EGA machine, and that works flawlessly, apart from the 350 line mode, which he's getting my Toshiba to fix that. But now what we've done is, I'm leading to a big point, so Appy's taken over the whole project to do the design work. Now what this means is this, that from now on, it's not going to be a control with a load of wires connected up. We're having a back plane, and the back plane is going to take all of the video and audio signals on a proper circuit board, and the breakout board, which does all the different inputs, literally just plugs in. So anything you want to just plugs into the back plane. So we get that noise down to hopefully literally nothing. We'll clean everything up and make that very simple for people to use. So I'll be doing videos on that soon. And I've got a prototype, picking up a prototype. Because we've got the backboard and the breakout board, he's also done, we're working on video switches, all kinds of stuff, which until we got that bit working, I don't want to talk about too much. But bottom line is, this monitor's had a rethink, and now because I've got someone else that's really helping me now, we can really transform this into what I hope will be as perfect as possible for anyone with a retro, even if you've got something like an SGI, because he's already looking at the circuitry to find out how to make it work. So we should hopefully be able to have that'll be a separate board, but you'll be literally just, you plug it in. Now, one more thing these things can do, because it's based on a pod system, so it has 3 pods. I nicked the name, if I get sued for trademark, I'll remove it, but I like the name pods, because the bottom one is your main control board, and then you have our breakout board. Then there's obviously now the back plane, but that leaves 2. So one can be the SCART, EGA, CGA, composite, S-video, I hope, on one set. You plug that in, screw it all in. The top one you can have, you could put a Raspberry Pi in it. Or if you come downstairs and see mine on the by the wall, I've got, has anyone got a Mister? Yeah, you got everything in there. You know what I mean? If you've got a Mister, you can, if you want to take it out of your case, I actually like my group case, but if you want to take it out, you can literally, I have a holder, and you can screw that straight in and slap that into the back of the monitor. It's designed to take a full stack Mister. It's meant to be, like hopefully the ultimate retro computer with good speakers. The quality of the panel is everything. So one thing I am going to be doing, if the Kickstart when I launch it, hopefully August, if it's a success, the first thing I'm doing is going to Asia, and I'm going to be really testing panels, because I've ordered 10 different panels and only 2 of them are any good. And it's really expensive, it's cheaper just to get some flights, go out to Asia and look hundreds. So then I'm going to be picking some selection of panels and then give those as options. So that the actual, when you do the Kickstarter, this is going to sound really stupid, but the Kickstarter will be the system without a panel. Okay? And you'll add the panel on afterwards. So that'll be important. It'll be all very clear when it's done. But it means you're only paying like 2/3 of it up front, and then you've got the panel to pay. But hopefully that will alleviate the problem, because we can give people different panels for different users. Just for the record, latency on this thing. You guys can come down and check what you think, because it's turned out I need to show people. When people see it, I won't load your mind up with what I think of it. Come and see what you think of the panel, what you think of the quality. But I think it's about getting the latency on this is 17.8 milliseconds. If anyone wants to know, from literally pressing the button to there, because I've got a proper tester now, and that's like 1/60th per second. So it's not a lot. So I don't think anyone will really notice it. I know people with CRTs, it's 0 lag on the CRT. I know that, but that's because of the way it works. And as I said, it's not a replacement. That's a little bit on the panels. Is there any questions? How long have I got?
You've got about 4 minutes.
4 minutes. Okay, so I don't need many questions. Go on. Fire away.
Got one.
Go.
You said what criteria you're looking for a good panel. So what's the panel what you're looking for as regards to
The question back when you...
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So what is the criteria you're looking for a good panel? You said you're trying to find you've only found 2.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Okay,
Yeah.
so the question was, what's the criteria of a good panel? Which, to be honest, is a really good question. To me, IPS is it, as far as I'm concerned. I want something relatively bright. I know people do get sometimes bogged down in brightness, but IPS for me, because I want to be able to look from the sides. If you approach this panel, because I still really like this panel. If you come and look at it, you can look at it from any angle. It looks fantastic. So to me, I want it to be IPS. I don't want a TN. I did get in a TN because it was supposed to be a faster refresh, but it just turned out to look rubbish, and it wasn't any quicker. So the quality for me is I like the IPS family of products. So that's the one I tend to. I've had loads of others with TNs and different types of panels. But they just, you go off axis a bit and you can't see them. The TN panel did slightly more, I'd like to call it a bit more blooming colour. The colour was a little bit better, but then I just turned the brightness up a bit. But as soon as you come off axis, it looks rubbish. It looks absolutely terrible. So IPS to me. Now, there is, when I say about the criteria, for me, this thing is 250 nits. Okay? Now, I know we've all been watching the Apple adverts. Oh, wow, the Apples have got 500 nits or 1,000 nits or 1,600 nits. Yeah, I don't care. Most panel makers, for general use, 150 plus is okay. You come and have a look, see what you think. But this is one of the options I'm going to try and find. If I can find a nice IPS panel that is being made, because this is one of the problems. There's just for curiosity, if you want to have a look at it on the camera, search for panellook.com with 1 L. And go on there, have a look at panels, have fun. There's tens of thousands of panels. The key thing is it must be in production, okay? It must have a couple of thousand in stock, which is never true, but it must at least be in production. So have a look at it. If you find something you really love, great. But I did that, and I came back with this TN panel. It had fantastic specs, it arrived, and it looked okay straight on, but when you come outside, it was rubbish. But what I am trying to find, and I'm not having any luck yet, this is the reason for going to China, is an OLED. I want to get an OLED panel as an option. And trust me, you will have to sell one of your children or a kidney, but I'd like to give the option. Now basically these panels, if I do manage to get one, Samsung, I've tried to contact Samsung, haven't got anywhere yet. But I'm trying to get OLED panels, but they tend to be the only ones you can get a 15.6 widescreen. So of course we're considering shrinking the monitor to hide the sides so I can put it in and do the firmware, so we just use the middle. The problem with that is that makes it a bit smaller. But that's the reason for going. So an OLED would be, OLED or maybe if there's something else that would be fantastic, but getting a panel, it is a big deal. I mean, for me, I like this panel. You guys go down and have a look, see what you think. But I know some people do like them brighter, and I can get 400 nits, I can get 500 nits. The price will step up accordingly. But IPS, if you just look up the subject IPS, and you've only got to look at the side of it. Most modern panels are IPS. Am I done? I'm done.
Yeah, if that's...
Yeah. Good. Okay. Well, thanks very much for listening. Sean, you met me downstairs, and yeah. So go on and buy thing. But yeah, come down and have a look at the panel, and I'll hand over to. Do I want to switch this off?